He was not born to wear a crown, yet he would become the man who made Rome rise again. You desire the eternal city? Then you must bleed for it. Every clash of steel echoes through the centuries. He was no Caesar, yet Rome still whispers his name, Belisarius. Rome had fallen many times, brought low by invaders, by civil wars, and by its own corruption. But in the winter of 537 AD, she would not fall quietly. The Eternal City lay encircled, hemmed in by the Ostrogoths, an army of more than 100,000 pressing at her walls. And yet, within those ancient ramparts stood one man between survival and oblivion, Flavius Belisarius, commander of the Eastern Roman Empire. With scarcely 5,000 soldiers, he faced the impossible. No reinforcements, no certain hope of relief. The Senate was powerless, the people restless, and supplies dwindled away. Still, he remained. To abandon Rome was not merely to give up a city, it was to surrender the very memory of empire. The struggle that followed was no simple clash of armies. It was a duel of minds, of guile, and of desperate last stands. As siege engines battered the walls and famine crept through the streets, Belisarius reshaped the city into a fortress of invention. Aqueducts were turned into moats, crumbling battlements were shored up, and strange new weapons, unfamiliar to the Goths, were unleashed. How do you guard the corpse of an empire against an enemy 3 times your size? Would you hold the city, or retreat to fight again? Belisarius chose to stay. Far away in Constantinople, Emperor Justinian gazed westward. His ambition was not fleeting glory, but the restoration of Rome itself. He believed the Western Empire was not destroyed, only neglected. And now, he thought, God had placed the chance to reclaim it into his hands. That chance appeared in the form of a queen in exile, Amalasuntha, daughter of Theodoric the Great, regent of the Ostrogothic kingdom. Roman in education, fluent in Greek and Latin, she admired the culture of the empire. But her reforms roused bitter enemies. Nobles, generals, even her own cousin Theodahad. In 535, they had her imprisoned and murdered. Her death shook the Mediterranean world. For Justinian, it was more than tragedy. It was a righteous cause for war. Rome had not avenged her own fall in 476. He would. To Italy, he sent his most trusted general, Belisarius, victor of the Vandal War. The official reason was justice for Amalasuntha. The true reason was conquest, to break Gothic power and raise the Roman banner once again over Italy. Belisarius landed in Sicily late in 535, and his campaign swept forward with stunning speed. City after city yielded to his disciplined Byzantine army. He crossed into mainland Italy, stormed Naples after a brutal siege, and in December 536, entered Rome itself. The gates opened without resistance. There was no triumphal procession, no cheering crowds, only a silence heavy with uncertainty. And yet the meaning was clear. After 6 decades, the Eastern Empire had returned to the Eternal City. Justinian's dream had begun to take shape. But questions lingered. Was this truly about Rome reborn? Or was it Constantinople reaching for what it had never truly owned? Could a war waged in the name of a murdered queen bring peace? Or would it only summon ancient ghosts best left buried? By early 537, the answer came in steel. King Witiges of the Goths marched south with a host said to exceed 100,000. Belisarius had fewer than 5,000 men. Byzantine veterans, hired mercenaries of doubtful loyalty, and Roman townsfolk uncertain of which side to trust. The siege closed swiftly. Roads were cut, the Tiber blockaded, the ports sealed. Rome, once mistress of the world, was now a lonely outpost, clinging to its past. Inside, fear spread. Many citizens of Gothic blood wondered if Belisarius was savior or oppressor. Rumors of treachery spread through the streets. The Senate sat frozen, powerless. Starvation whispered louder with each passing day. And yet Belisarius did not waver. He turned the ancient city into a bulwark of ingenuity. He destroyed the aqueducts, not to deny water to his people, but to prevent the enemy from creeping in through hidden channels. He rebuilt the walls, strengthened the gates with earthworks and iron, and prepared traps against tunneling. Weapons were stockpiled, pitch was readied, and the defense of Rome became a grim art. Then the storm broke. The Goths tested every approach, hurling themselves at the Porta Salaria, the Porta Prenestina, even sending ships up the Tiber to cut off Ostia, Rome's last lifeline. Again and again, Belisarius outmaneuvered them, not with numbers, but with cunning, with ambush, with precision counter-strikes. In one battle beneath the earth, Gothic sappers tunneled toward the walls, hoping to collapse them. But Belisarius had foreseen it. His men dug countermines and met them in the darkness. Steel clashed in choking tunnels until the Goths withdrew in horror, defeated by calculation as much as by courage. Famine gnawed at soldiers and civilians alike, yet still Belisarius stood at the walls, sometimes disguised as a common man to steady his troops. His resolve became the heartbeat of Rome's defense. But the question haunted all. Could brilliance alone save a city cut off from the world? And at what cost? The Goths believed sheer numbers would bring victory. 10,000 stormed the gates, more surged at the walls. They built siege towers, dug new tunnels, even struck at Ostia itself, desperate to sever the Byzantines' last thread of survival. But Rome did not fall. It struck back. Belisarius had forged his outnumbered soldiers into instruments of strategy. Fire, stone, and steel were his notes. The walls of Rome were the strings of his instrument. What he played was devastation. One night, Gothic miners broke through, believing they had reached open ground, only to find themselves ambushed by spears and fire in the shadows. They vanished without trace. Again and again, the night became Belisarius's ally. He launched surprise raids, striking from the darkness. Under fog, Gothic engineers crept toward the gates, only to be encircled and wiped out. Rome still stood.